one thing which I have seen with many customers within Microsoft and outside is that they are trying to use Power Platform with different applications, whether it's on-premises applications or again Azure OpenAI services with Power Apps and with Power PVA and SharePoint Online, those things. So again, I have some demos which I'm sent link to you. See whether you can replicate in your tenant. And I try to use step by step, which I mostly do for my customers, that they can see the thing as visually. Now we have the video, which we'll be sharing with you, but you can see step by step guide. There are 4 demos which I have prepared, and to save time, I'll be showing the step-by-step guide on my GitHub, and then 2 demos I show in this recording. So you can have some kind of glimpse that how the Power Platform and Azure OpenAI can work. Okay, now one thing which I am last 2 weeks I'm not very I want to say not very active. I have something, but I saw a couple of posts that a lot of people, again, to all the MVPs, to Nandeep, Simita, Siddharth, all the people who have renewed their MVP title. It's I'm very happy that you have renewed everyone who has done. So big congrats to all the people, right? So thanks to that. I'm really happy that community is doing work. And I was a MVP for 3 years, both in data and also in Power Platform and in business application. So my heart goes to the when people do a lot of community works. So just want to share that I'm very happy that all the people are doing amazing work, just not in Pune, but all the places, whether it's Delhi, whether it's Chennai. Okay, now something about myself. I'm Aroh Shukla. I'm a senior cloud architect in Noport in at Microsoft, and I joined Microsoft around 9 months back. Okay. Now, what I want to show with you is that the overview. And now there's so many things, but I share you the integration touch points, how the OpenAI can work. I give you some samples which are ready-made, and how you can integrate with Azure OpenAI, right? So how it works. So, but before that, I will give some kind of things because people are really excited about ChatGPT and all. And what's the main differences between the OpenAI, which is again is a startup, and how the Microsoft Azure OpenAI are different, right? And there are a couple of differences which I shared. Again, I will share this PDF document to the organizers, and they can share it. I will share in my LinkedIn soon, not immediately, but I'll share with them. But I want to share with you that what is the main differences between the OpenAI service and Azure OpenAI, and why we should always go for Azure OpenAI. Okay, so I'm not against OpenAI, but there's few things which are not maybe for scale point of view are not so great, right? Now, what I will do, I will share some use cases which some customers, and then how you can use those use cases in your own Azure services, right? Power Platform and Azure OpenAI. Now, one thing which I want to share is that Azure OpenAI is in private preview. And is in preview, I don't know, but I maybe Nandeep can or Siddharth can share me. But when I was doing 2 weeks back, it was in private preview. It may be in public preview, and now you can use it. All the MVPs can see, and all the people who want to use it, they can also use it. Again, it's in private preview, And so now what I want to share is that how we can leverage Power Platform with Azure OpenAI. Okay, this is the agenda, and we see integration touch points. Okay, and I have a lot of demos, but 2 demos I show uh, in live here, and other 4 demos are in my GitHub. I will share the GitHub link to you. Okay, so that is the thing which we will see in shortly. Now, before we do anything, I just want to share. I mean, people who have in this uncertainty in this a couple of layoffs happening in different organizations, whether it's in US, in Europe, and Asia, whatever it is, right? And we are facing a lot of uncertainty times, right? And now just want to share that there are issues happening because of the microeconomics conditions in Europe and US. And what happening in that because of the wars happening and energy prices, every organization to want to save time, save money, and also you want to use AI, right? And we have want to use AI in a good way, right? So that's what we want to do. So main point is that we are facing uncertainty time, right? Something which we have to work on that. Now, what's happening now? This is not Azure OpenAI, but I'm talking about the Azure services, Azure AI services. Now, what has happening right now is because of the use cases in Azure, lot of organizations. Again, example of ENY. People know about PepsiCo. That is one of the organization in Europe. So they people are want to save money and want to save AI services, right? Now, this is not ChatGPT, but something about AI, Azure AI. So if you see this kind of examples, this kind of numbers, you say that so much money is saved if you are using a manual thing, right? Now, this is a very big organization where they want, this is the partner, obviously, but one of the organization where they want to save, this is one is a retail company and they want to save money. And then you say how much they have saved in last couple of 1 or 2 years, right? And they want to automate the processes. So this can be done only with some automation services, right? You know, PepsiCo, everything they have saved so much time using in Europe as well as in US. And Progressive is they are using a lot of money using the ChatGPT and also OpenAI, right? So these are some examples. Now, this is not limited to these scenarios, but there's many use cases which I can't share, but so many use cases with um, Azure AI can help in all, for all the organizations, right? But it's something which I want to share with you. Now, for me, I want to just focus on Power Platform and OpenAI services, right? Now, in my example, I was focusing on just on the OpenAI services. There's so many examples. That ChatGPT 3 and 4, and then we have a Dolly, Codex, ChatGPT. These are all examples which we see in the demos, right? And OpenAI service, you see there's so many examples there, but I want to tell you that in this demos, I'm not focusing on this, right? If you want to, you can contact me if you want to have more information about these cognitive services, but my demo is completely into OpenAI services, okay? And then we can see have some co-pilots, we can do a lot of other stuff as well, right? So these are the few examples which I shared with you that just focusing on the Azure OpenAI services. Okay, now when you use OpenAI services, we can leverage lot of amazing stuff. We can use as an infrastructure. We can use using digital applications, right? We can use the data and AI, obviously using Power BI and Power Platform. So again, if you've seen that in last build, we have seen we have shown about how the Power BI Copilot can work, Power Pages Copilot can work, right? So these are the things which Microsoft and Microsoft is trying to leverage all citizen developer to use it. Now, one thing which I always get questions that we can use for the enterprise applications. The answer is yes. If you have very complex scenarios, obviously we can integrate with low code with pro code. Okay, so this is something which many people ask me that is it possible to have enterprise application with Power Platform? And answer is yes. I worked for many huge large customers, maybe $10 million scale, and they always have integration with the low code, obviously with citizen developers, and with the pro code. So they have some data scientists and all. So just want to tell you that low code can be done by citizen developers, but if the organization have pro code developers like people who working on Python, C# developers, Node.js, they can integrate as well with the citizen developers. So something which I won't talk about, but something which you may take note. I have many customers want to integrate low code with pro code. Okay, now before I proceed, I want to share the thing. This is my own slide because many people ask me, are the difference between the OpenAI and Azure OpenAI, main differences. But there are many differences, but something which I have, you take a screenshot, but there's PDF will be there after this call. You see there's the main differences. One is the security, right? Now, when you use Azure any services, you must have some kind of a keys, the app keys, right? Without that service won't work for you. So example is that if I want to use any Azure services, whether it's I'm using a Graph API with Azure, or I want to use a VM, I must have my private keys, right? So that is not possible with they have own controls, and it's like I won't say it's very good, but it's some kind of if people who want to more secure, they can go for that. But um, Microsoft is very strict about the security. Second thing is about the VNet, right? So when you're using OpenAI or something which is an Azure, you always have private endpoints, and you can share those private endpoints to your end users or to the public. Now, these private keys can change, right? You can change. If you think somebody has a compromise, you can. But what I want to share is that you have more security when you use Azure OpenAI. Okay. Second is access. Now, access, I mentioned to you that you can use open the keys. So I will, in my example, I show you how you can use the keys. Now, whether it's again your hard disk and Azure or some kind of solutions, we always use keys. So I will using these keys in my examples. Now, problem with this, it's used only by everyone. So everyone who has access, they can see the data. So data security is not that good as compared to what you see, right? Now, one thing which is Microsoft is still working is about the regional availability, right? Now, in OpenAI, right now, we will making adding more regions. Now it's open to many countries in OpenAI. And this point of time, we have only four regions, right? We have Western Europe, Eastern and South US. Four regions at this point of time. And we are adding more regions. Right now, there's no Asia, but we are adding soon. So this video link I will share with you in my links as well. But I highly recommend never use your company data with ChatGPT. Reason being, you have some just for testing purposes using, and then you might expose to some private, very secure data, which you think that maybe your end users can see, maybe some private users. Never ever use OpenAI for that. But if you think, example, I also use it for my own uses. That is just for using the the ChatGPT URL. But I always use my Azure OpenAI for my customers. So this is a very huge topic. I want to share this, but I bit some simple how there are 7 to 8 more endpoints, but something which I think is useful for you. Okay. Now, before I proceed, I want to share some use cases, right? Now, this is a large organization. It's one of the customer where they have lot of documents, maybe 10,000 documents per day. Think about that scale, right? And now the problem with that is like when there's no Azure OpenAI, they will use cognitive services, right? So obviously we can use cognitive services, but there's no prompt. ChatGPT is famous for prompts. So what is possible is that obviously you can integrate your forms recognizer and obviously with cognitive search, but you can now integrate with your OpenAI service. So people can ask questions and that questions will be actually filled in by your cognitive search. So example, one of my customers that they want to use Shape and Online. Okay, and they want to use not the shapered search, but they want to use something called as a cognitive services with OpenAI services. Now, we are doing POC for that customer, but I want to share that this example is maybe relevant for you. Now, this is a customer which we have done is a very big retail. think about IKEA, that scale. I'm not talking about example of IKEA, but this is a very big retail. And they do a lot of things, a lot of data scanning, a lot of things. So we use form recognizer with integration of cognitive services with Azure OpenAI and Cosmos DB. Now, you can do a lot of things. And the end goal is that the your end users will use that web app. Now, this web app could be your Power Apps, or the data could be filled into your Power BI reports. So this is something which is few of the customers are using now. Microsoft always give access to customers and full preview because they want to use it. So these are in preview. But again, soon you can see in next 2, 3, 4 months, maybe end of this year, you can see the OpenAI is open to all the regions. Second example is Vic Telecom, which we have worked in, and where the call center. And what's happening that all the audio files, whether it's mobile phones or anything, that thing is translated to the text to speech. And that is goes to your OpenAI services. So all the call center people can able to search for all the users, right? Think about US, think about India, think about Singapore, think about Australia. So the call center people can see what's happening, and then using the Azure OpenAI service, then we can do some additional reporting for that. So this is again two simple examples. What I want to share with you is which I'm working with the thing. Now, one thing, now I will send this link to you as well. Now, one of my customers in Europe, they want to have Power Virtual Agents, and they want to integrate with Power Automate and with Azure OpenAI service, right? Now, again, Azure OpenAI can be used for your own data, not for normal data. So this customer want to use Azure OpenAI with their own storage, right? Their own crawling, everything there. So what they want to do is they want to use Azure OpenAI with Power Automate and using the Power Virtual Agents. So think about uh, Xbox. Think about any resale product, but resale only for their services. I give an example of mine customer where they want to use some insurance plans, and you said insurance plans have so many customers, maybe 1 billion, 2 million customers, right? It's very difficult to have a SharePoint, right? So using Azure storage or using Azure functions is very easy to show to the end users how you can scale using Azure OpenAI and using cognitive services. So this is an example which I will sharing with you in my demos on that. Okay. Now, one thing which I show in the demo, I have 4 demos, is that at this point of time, many community people have creating OpenAI services, right? And we will creating one OpenAI services in this demo. But right now, Microsoft is not creating out-of-box connector like SharePoint. We have SAP, right? So right now, because Azure OpenAI is quite new, so Microsoft not created the out-of-box connector, right? So it's possible to connect your Power Apps with your custom connector, right? So I can connect to my Azure OpenAI services, right? I can use my storage, and then that data I can feed with my Azure storage, or can find my Azure functions. So in this example, what I want to show you with you that it's possible to using your own custom connector. But if you want to use custom connector, you have to pay for the premium license. This is very common question which many customers ask, that when you use custom connector, it is out the box. The answer is no. When you use custom connector, it's always paid. You have to pay for that, right? Okay, next example which I shared in my demo is that I can have ChatGPT and using my Teams, right? Now, what I can do, I can just use Microsoft Teams, and I use my OpenAI services and using Power Automate. So users can use either Power App, or else they can embed Power Apps into your Microsoft Teams. And then if they answer any questions, whether it's from the a public site or private site, but that matter, the data is actually stored into Azure OpenAI services, and the data will be fetched to their view, right? So this is few examples which we see in the demo. Okay, so this is something which I will show. Now, these are the only few things. Now let's focus on the demos, and then I'll be share some links with you, and you can replicate those links with you with your in your uses. The first one is this one. Okay, now this is there are four samples. Let me just zoom it a bit. So there are four samples which I've shown you, and I'm giving step-by-step guide to how to do it. And I will show you in this demo how to do it. So one demos I show you here and one demo on the Teams. And other things you can see step-by-step how I will do. So I will send this link to you and you see um, you can replicate. Now, if you have any questions, you can ask me as well later on. But where is my Teams chat? Okay. Okay. So now, and it took some time for me too, because it took me 2, 3 weeks to make these samples. I want to show to the community that how it works, because I can't find much demos, everything in different places. So I can't find much. So I created, and I will creating more demos. Now I have 4 demos. I'll be creating one demo for PVA and one for Shape on Online, how to integrate. Okay, so you can see this repo will be having more samples. Okay. Now, before I proceed, I want to show something to you before I be shown that if you want to use Power Apps or and Power Virtual Agents, you must have a reservations to done, right? Now, what? Let me see whether this is still very relevant. Now, this link is with you also. You can see that. Let me share this link as well to you. Okay, and then yeah, so what is the OpenAI service? You can do a lot of things you can do. And again, I mentioned about the regions. So there are 3, 4 regions, and they can add more regions soon, right? And now how we can do, and again, you see, apply for access. So what I want to share with you is very important that many customers of mine that how we can access Azure OpenAI services. Forget about Power Apps, but if you want to use it, how you can do it. So first thing first is you have to click on apply for now, and then you have this form. Okay, and this form, do it very, very carefully. Don't do it when you are doing fastly, maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes. No, maybe take 30 minutes. Do it very well, because even as a Microsoft, I was could not access. So it took some time. So what I'm asking you, do something very simple, that add your names, whatever it is. You can't use Gmail, whatever it is, and add your subscription ID, right? When it 2 months back, one is I'm using tenant ID and I got an error because they need a subscription ID. So use your subscription ID, don't use tenant ID, and then and enter your subscription ID in the form, right? This is the form. This is my form, right? So I will adding not the tenant ID again. Don't use tenant ID, use subscription ID. Then enter your email address. You can't use Outlook and all, it won't be done. Enter the email address of the things, right? And for me, it took me 30 minutes because it's not, I work in Microsoft, but I was asked my manager to that I want to use it because I want to show it my customers. And within 30 minutes, 1 hour, I got the access. But for you, it may take some time. So be patient, we get it, and you enter the details. Now, if you are a MVP and all, it may be faster for you, but if you're a customer or you are you're not MVP or something, it makes some time. Example, if you are partner, you have to enter details, right? So what I'm telling you that do it very, very patiently. Uh, don't take in a haste, right? Me as Microsoft also, I make a mistake there. And enter the details there, and soon in 1 or 2 days or 2 days or sometime, it will a link will be given to you. Now, if you feel that if we have something which is called as a dolly or something like that, then you have to enter some more details there, right? Which use cases and also please enter the details very cautiously. If you use the text, maybe very simple, you can do it. If you want to do dolly and other things, maybe some time will be there for you. So I'm just giving this thing because I also make mistakes. So somebody asked some questions, so I just answered that one. Yes, Nandeep.
No, sorry, that was by mistake.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, so something which this is a
Oh,
common
sorry,
mistake
there's
which
one question in the chat window. Like,
yeah.
is it mandatory to use the company details?
Um, Highly recommended to do it because Microsoft will scan what the company does and also it will have some details. If you put your own company one to a I mean startup, it may take some more longer time, maybe denied as well. If you have bigger company or maybe small company, whatever it is, put the name, email address and all. It will be much faster to do it. This is my observation, right? Yeah. Okay, guys. So that's something which is again you have to add the details very. Okay. Company website is important, right? Now, if you have your own startup, right, maybe 10 people, you might get it also. But only 1 or 2 people, chance to getting access will be slightly slimmer. Okay. Yeah. So that is about the access. Okay. And the second thing is about the GitHub link, right, which I shared with you. So you can just see the things, right? Now, I go step by step and you see how I do. Where is my link? Uh, No, this is the one. Okay. So this is my the home page, and then each sample you can see the links, right? This thing, and if you want to have custom connector, I put all the links there, and I have all the samples. This is very simple, easy sample which we work together, and then I work on the bot as well. How you can use TeamSpot with Azure OpenAI services, and I got a lot of inspiration from a lot of people. So I know this guy this is again an MVP. So I get a lot of inspiration. So I always credit them. Okay. Now, in this example, right, what I want to show, this is a very easy example, and I want to get started how to do it. Right now, first thing, this thing, I assume that you already have access to your Azure OpenAI service, right? So that is for sure. Otherwise, I can't show that demo to you. So assume everyone has Azure OpenAI service. Now you can apply, get access. They may take some 1-2 days, maybe 1 week, but you will get it. But now, because I have a demo, I have the samples I can show to you. Now, what I want to show you is how we can easily create integration, right? So I just click on that. You can see that. Okay. Okay, now one thing which I always recommend to my customers that always use solution, and I can't emphasize that I see many customers they just click on the apps and then they can't move to the the dev to staging to production, right? So I was something which I always do. Now, what I want to show you that this is a sample. Just click on this sample, click on this link, and then see go step by step, right? I will go show go step by step, right? Yeah. So I'm creating an app now. Okay. And my example, I want to integrate uh, in a public website, right? Public website. I want to have a Canvas app, and my use case is that I want to integrate Azure OpenAI with my ChatGPT, right? So example is we have a Tony UG and uh, Power Apps with ChatGPT. Okay, and nothing much I'm doing. I'm giving a very simple demo, and then you see how it works. And you have the link of the of my sample. You can just try it out in your tenant. Okay. Now in this demo, what I want to do, I want to use Power Apps, ask some questions, ask the my ChatGPT, I mean Azure OpenAI services, and get a reply from the answer, right? Very, very simple demo, but I just want to show how we can integrate. Then we see some other samples, right? So in this example, I want to create three controls. One is my text box. Okay, this is my I ask questions. Then second is a button, and a label that answer ChatGPT will give an answer to. So this is a label, right? Now, what I will do, I just have a habit of renaming the controls. I put questions, okay, and button. I just put rename it to get answer. There is no rocket science. Just I'm just using the thing, and then I'm using a label get answer. Okay, that's it, right? Now I just remove this text box. The button is answer. Okay. Right? There's no ChatGPT part here so far. Now we are doing it now. Okay. Now, before we get this thing, I will using Power Automate. Okay, Power Automate, and we use something called as a HTTP call. Right? I'll show you what I mean. I click in this link, and this is a sample I just created. I just want to show you now. My end goal is that my end users can ask questions using this Power App. And the behind the scene, the logic will be your ChatGPT using Azure OpenAI service. So what I will do, I create a new flow. And in this flow, what I will do, I will create from blank. And yep, I called Salmon Pune UG use case. Power apps. ChatGPT. Okay. Yep. So that is something which we'll do. It is very simple. Now, I would get a call from Azure OpenAI service. So I told you that right now Microsoft not created any out-of-box connector, right? So we have to use something called as a HTTP connector, right? Which is called HTTP premium connector. It is HTTP. And you see there are lot of connectors. You have a HTTP premium, Swagger, and your webhook. So in this example, I just used the basic one. Okay, and then I want to get a reply. Now, what about the URL? So before I proceed, I want to show something about my Azure services is my tenant, and because I have access, I have Azure OpenAI services, right? And then you see same thing, which when if you work on Azure, you can have some um, again, it works on the cognitive services. But a new thing you see that Azure OpenAI services, which can do. Then you have lot of other services like language, vision, decisions, lot of things, right? But our example is Azure OpenAI. So what I will do, I create a new services, and then I will create called as okay. Now you can see in this region, Azure Open Service, you have only four, right? You have East use case, UK and Western Europe, right? So we'll be adding more. There's no Asia at this point of time. Okay, then I can add and all. So I can do anything, but just want to show that I can add as usual when you create a new service in your Azure. Now, I've already created, so it will work for me. Now I'm using East East US. So I click on that. Now, what is important that I want to show a playground. What is playground? Playground is a service through which you as an end user or as a developer can test your OpenAI services, right? So I click on explore, it can go develop or deploy. So I just want to show you how it works. Okay, and their new services keep on adding all the time, right? Now, Dolly's came 2 weeks back. ChatGPT is already there, and now you see here, during the build, if anyone watched build, uh, we have added something called as add your data. You can add your own data, right? And what data sources you can add this point of time are these. So I can use cognitive services. I can add the blob storage, or I can add my own files. What files? I can add these my all files. Bob, I have a lot of samples you can see, but I can access. I can use new search, and then it will work for me. Right now, having this blob storage, this upload files is a very good way, but again, it's in preview. Don't try it at this point of time, right? Yeah, but I've seen many examples that you can upload uh, your uh, uh, your SharePoint storage or any service using this. Now, this is in the preview. Okay. Now, what I want to show you that I can in this, I'm using the Autobox one. I can use some samples. So I just click on that again. This playground just for testing, right? I want to test it by the power button get spoiled in Osbox. Okay, I can't understand. Okay, so I mean, but again, I think I put a lot of the thing, but I can just share this thing with that. So I can get thing. Oh, okay, whatever it is, yeah. Yeah, so you see, it will give you some reasons and all, right? Now, this is coming from ChatGPT services, right? And this is open, right? And I can see the data as well, the raw data. This is the thing which you can get, and I can see the code. Now, I mentioned you this thing, right? How can get this data? The post is there, but how get the URL and the headers? Now, if you want to get the things, what you have to do, I will go to the completions because I want to use the deployments. So I click on completions. I click on answering. OK, I click on this answer, right? Get answer. So this is a sample again, but I want to use it in my demo, right? So what I will do, I click on view code. Now everything is read in there in my GitHub, how it works, but I want to show you how it works. So click on this, copy this URL. OK, and just paste this URL here. No rocket science, just copy it. OK, second thing, I need a key. Where is my key? So I mentioned to you that security is very, very key when using Azure. So I want to copy this key and I put API key, and this is my key. OK, so this is security, right? OpenAI maybe doesn't have that security, right? Now, how to get body? I have done a body. So what I have shared in my GitHub, right? You must have referenced that link. That's which is called the OpenAI service, right? Yeah, this reference. So we are calling a REST API. So I want to get the body. So what I do, I get the prompt. I mentioned that we are working on the prompt. This is the ChatGPT and max tokens and temperature and all. Now, what is the max token? Just think about when you're working on creating a hard disk. It's called as a HDD, right? The price will be different. But if you use SSD hard disk, will be much higher price. So when you use, when you use this terminology is coming from OpenAI, when you use more tokens, when you use I want to ask T lines, then you are using more services of Azure. So more price will be given to you. But if you ask for a paragraph, right, then the max term will be much higher, and the cost will be much higher. So these are some samples. See the things which you can see in this demo, but what the max tokens actually entails and how we can use it. Okay, now these are the things which is in your in my GitHub I have provided to you. So in my example, I just want to um, copy a content here, this content, right? Want to copy this content, just it, nothing much. So I have the demo in my slide. Yeah, so I just copy this link. You just get the things with working for you. Okay, so again, I mentioned that the max tokens temperature. Now, what is temperature? Temperature means the probability. So 0 is it's not a very high probability, but I can put 1. 1 means like I want to get maximum probability from this question, right? I can ask any questions. Second thing, I will ask questions in my Power Apps, right? So I will click on something called as ask in Power Apps, and this I just put inside this. Okay, you can rename it. I have habit of renaming it, but I just at a demo, you can just do it. Okay. The next is I want to just create on a compose. Now, why I'm using compose? Because we're getting some content which we can't parse that easily, right? I had got many questions from many customers that how to parse the content. So I want to share you about how easily you can get the parse JSON content. So first that you what you do, click on compose. And copy get the body and click on save. Okay. Okay, so now rename it. I just again rename it again. Just want to see. Okay. Next, what I will do, I will go to the my ChatGPT content which I have sample. Okay. And then what I will do, where is yeah. Click on the get content. Right. So answer. And what I'm want to do, I'm creating a variable in my Power Apps, right? So I can get the variable because which I created, right? The OpenAI services using HTTP. So I use a variable and I will click on G output. Okay, and then I have my variable. I just call the flow called as Pune run dot what's the name of my text field? Text question. And then text. Okay, yeah, and then in here I want to get the answer. Yep, output. So this is my output for that. Okay, what I'm doing, just want to get the output from my Power Apps, right? So just click on this and ask why to use Power Apps. Okay, now you got much information, but I want to get some information in my flow, right? Now, if I close that flow, which I just created, right, and I click on the run. This is the flow which I created. Right, yeah, it's outside here. Yeah. what you will get it that you get an output of by ChatGPT. Okay. And I want to get just copy the output for that. How do you get it? This is the output which is here. Where is my flow? Flow dot. Hmm, my flow is here. This is the one. So what I'm doing, I just want to show you because I've already created. I'll show you how you succeeded, right? Let's copy this one and copy this content. Why we need it? Because we're using for parse JSON. One thing I want to show you that you can see that it are using DaVinci model, right? Completion model completion and choices. And you see when I put the question right, although we can't see much there, but here you can see Power Apps is a low-code power platform for creating a tablets and all. You see all the content, it is coming from my Power Automate, not a Canvas app yet. And we are working on the Canvas app. So what I will do is copy this thing. Let's copy it. I click on edit. And then click on parse JSON. And what I want to do, I get the body because I get the body right from here. I get body and I got this content. I get it for content. And because I paste it, my paste content is here. Oh, sorry. Where is that content which I copied? Okay. Mm, one of the examples we should. Yeah, it's the same demo, which is ChatGPT. The same thing. I just want to show in the new tab. And this is the content. So I want to just copy because I think it didn't copy much clearly. So I just want to copy this content. As JSON. Get body. And just paste this. No, not this one. It's, yeah. So what I'm getting at it, one just want why the summary of this is that when you put compose, when you get the output, then you can easily that copy of the output and show in your position. In that way, you can able to show that content into your Power Apps, right? So this is the way I'm doing it, and just click on this, click on save. Now I still have a few minutes and to show you the entire demo, so you can get the feel that this is my entire um, demo which I shared with you. And then what I'm doing, I have to get path decision, which I showed you, right? Path decision. And then what I will do in this out summary, I want to get extract. What I need to extract because I want to get the object, these choices. Now, choices is an array, right? And that's why there are a lot of questions might ask. So I'm using apply to each loop and then get the current item, right? So now it's very, very not complex, but something to take note that because when you're working on the um, parse JSON, you have to get arrays at times. Now, this in our example by using array, and we can't do any iteration, but using the apply to each loop. So I'm using access choices, click on compose, and then I'm doing the same method which I did in the top. I using compose and then get the summary of that. Same method which I do, and then click on the flow on of the flow. So this is a way which I can do. Now, what I want to show to you that in this demo, what I will do, that I will just use that demo. Where is my solution? And now this is open, right? So you can ask anything. Now it's giving a lot of things inside. Now this is the thing which I want to show you that you can do everything inside, right? And the other demo I want to share with you is this one. Right now, what I'm doing, I want to use it now. I'm not using the any other model. I'm just using the default OpenAI services. It's the second demo which I in your GitHub. Right now, if you want to use it, how we can do it? Very simple. That if I want to have summarize content, right? So I want to summarize content very easily. I just click this question, right? And it will summarize the content for me, right? Same thing with the doing in ChatGPT, right? But now you see everything. So what content giving all the questions, give me all the things inside. So I can summarize content. Now, second thing which I can do is something I can use for my SQL content, right? Now, there are many people want to use SQL and they have no idea how to use it. So again, I can just use a SQL query and I'm not very professional. Maybe I click on get SQL query. So my question is that query list name of all the departments who are employed for more than 10 employees in last 3 months. So I click on. So again, it's ChatGPT. All the things are shown in the step-by-step guide inside your GitHub. So this is the second demo. Okay, so again, everything is there. So then maybe I click on the classify. Just want to show time. Now this is not a good example because I've not copied it well. So I just want to classify. So maybe I'm working on this demo and now you see Facebook, whether it is I don't know what's happening. So I want to see whether it's a Facebook. So I'm in a newbie. I don't know what Facebook does and all. So I don't know what FedEx does for me. So I know that some samples of LinkedIn, what it does. It's a technology career. Uber have technology transportation, and I want to get idea about what FedEx does. So now ChatGPT gave me this solution. Right? So this is some samples which we can work together on this, right? Now, the third demo which I have is called as a OpenAI service, right? So I can ask a question here. In digital consumption. Okay, I click on that. Okay, it takes some time, but you see, yeah. So this is a reply coming from the ChatGPT. So this is an example which I showed to one of my customers previously. Right? Why Power Platform governance is critical? Then it gave me the some reply to you. Now it takes some time. Because it's running a workflow behind, and so it will give you some sample that how easily you can integrate your Power Platform into applications with ChatGPT. Okay, and one thing which I have to take note before I don't. I can take 1 minute more, Nandit.
Yes, sir. Go ahead. No problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Yes.
Yeah. So one thing is about custom connector, right? There are many custom connectors you can use it. So again, I've in my fourth demo, the last demo, I'm using completions, right? So I'm using connector. to open using OpenAI services. So and this is a samples which I'm doing, and I'm using the key everything inside. Now how I can use this demo. So what I can do here is that in this solution, in this environment, it's each environment. So I want to create a new um, connector. I just click on new solution. It automation instant flow. And I doesn't want to use HTTP connector. Problem with HTTP connector is that for each flow you have to use it. I want to use the custom connector, which I can use it for my other solutions. So I just use it. I click on here. And because I have connector provisioned here in this sample, I have this custom connector enabled, right? It's completions, right? Again, it's a premium connector. What I can do, I can just add my ID and use my prompt, right? So I can just add my prompt here. Um, okay, and I click on save. And then just so again, many customers who are not very fluent in the using HTTP, we can use provision this custom connector, and you can again good thing is for the custom connector you can reuse in your solutions. So I just click on that, click on this test flow. This is a new flow by Sky Blue. I think I will get an error because I have not filled in the max tokens. Yeah, I will get an error because I'm not filled in. Yeah, because I'm not enter the max tokens. But you can get the idea. You can use max tokens. I mostly use it for one of my customers. They're very new to the the HTTP connector, and they told me that Aroh, can you make custom connector for that? Then I showed create them for them. I think only last month I showed them. So they're very new to the Power Platform and also with Azure OpenAI. So I thought there's a good knowledge for them, and again for open for the community. Just want to share with you is that if you want to learn more about Power Platform, there are many resources I shared with in my PDF document, which Nandi will share with you. Now I took 3 minutes additional. Uh, any question you can ask, and two questions you can ask me if you have any question on that.